A little quiet on the tennis court today, eh, Chef?
Yeah, absolutely, but we'll play a set after this.
100%. Hey, welcome to At The Cottage with me, Chef D, and Chef Darnell Greg, where we're going to do all about Italian today.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day. I'm making some fresh ricotta.
I'm making meatballs.
And then I think you're sitting down with a couple special guests.
Chef Aaron Klein, Culinary Specialist here at Windermere House, and of course, VP of Sales, Joe Hall. Hey, won't you join me at the cottage with me, Chef D, and my great friend, Chef Darnell Greg.
Yo, check this out.
Hey, Chef D here. I want to introduce you to a really cool friend, Chef Aaron Klein, Regional Director of Culinary for Bee Hospitality. And Aaron has invited us up to Windermere House. We're going to share some recipes from your cookbook that you wrote when you went around the world, which is really cool. When did you do that?
I did that just pre-COVID, actually, 2019, just to early 2020, and it was quite an experience, 25 countries. Yeah.
So when you're in the 25 countries, like, were you looking for places that I can go, hey, I'm going to take this recipe back and work on it? Or was it more as an enjoyable, just kind of a trip?
It was a little bit of both. So I find there's kind of a little bit of beauty in everything. So we did find some really cool spots and inspirations and recipes and ingredients that I didn't get experience with before. So it was kind of to reinvigorate that fire and get some cool stuff to play around with.
And then, okay, so then, you know, COVID happens and we did some work together, which was really cool, and we did some really cool things. And then you got this offer from Bee Hospitality to be their regional culinary director. Now, when did Windermere House come on board?
Wow, Windermere House only a few months ago.
Yeah.
So we just got it April. Spent a few weeks getting it up and running, and then since the end of May, we've been open. And enjoying guests ever since. So. And
it's been really cool to see that, not only because I know who you are, and the viewers are going to get to know who you are, is I love that you've already found local farms and that you're getting some of your greens from and that.
Yeah, we there's a ton of great producers and suppliers around here, so it was a really fun project for me to kind of go around and see what this area of Ontario has to offer. And
the other thing, you're going to see the inside of this great old hotel that actually burnt down, and they've restored it to its natural glory back in the 90s. But I just love old hotels. Like, you know, there's something about it, and we were talking about this off air. There's some classic part that just kind of invites you in as a chef, and that you want to do something here.
Yeah, it's got that cool kind of unique vibe, and you want to try and create food that kind of matches that unique that unique view, that unique look.
And this really, Chef, this isn't a bad view to be working out of, you know?
No, I can't complain with a morning coffee. It gives you a little bit of inspiration too, but you can't really argue with that view.
Well, brother, I think it's time you and I get cooking, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Won't you join us? You all remember Chef Darnell Greg, Executive Chef of ChefD TV, and a whole bunch more. Hey, welcome to Windermere House. This is pretty darn cool, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is a wicked cottage getaway for us. We're in God's country out in the Muskokas, and couldn't ask for much better.
So, Chef, you're making some homemade ricotta, right?
Yeah. I think the theme of today is going to be a little bit of some Italian at-home style cooking. So we're going to do a really quick demo of how to make some fresh ricotta cheese, which is one of my favorite things to make. It's super impressive, super easy, and it tastes delicious. And what are you preparing?
So we're going to do meatballs, and this is a Naples traditional meatball. I love Cooks Illustrated. I love Milk Street magazine, and this is one of the recipes from Milk Street. They go around the world checking out all these great recipes, so I thought, hey, let's bring it back to the cottage, right?
Very fun.
And the great thing about doing this is that you can make a whole bunch of meatballs. You can freeze them, and then next time you're up at the cottage, bring them out and serve a whole bunch of people.
Absolutely. You get to spend more time with family, spend more time with friends, spend more time outside, right?
100%. And ricotta, now people don't have to be scared to do this at home or at the cottage.
No, this is something that's super, super easy to do. As far as the process goes, we're literally just boiling milk. The more natural product, the more local product, the better for this thing. We're using 2% milk. You can use homogenized 3.25. You can even use skim. Generally, higher fat content will be a little bit better. And the recipe is super easy. For every liter of cream, we're going to add the juice of 1 lemon.
Okay, that's pretty simple.
That's pretty easy to remember. So we're just waiting on for that to come up to a simmer. Then we'll go ahead and add the lemon juice, and we'll start developing a little bit of curd.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you want to make some meatballs?
Sure, perfect. So I have 2 eggs, 1 egg yolk. I just blended it together. We have some ground chuck. Now, and we both really love ground chuck because, again, it's got that 80-20, 80% meat, 20% fat. You're going to have a lot of moisture to it. It just makes a great tasting meatball.
Yeah.
Panko breadcrumbs. We have some Parmesan cheese, about 2 tablespoons. This is really cool how they actually put the parm in the meatball.
Absolutely, and it really helps that fat content, keeps the meatball nice and juicy, and really helps the final product.
Some fresh garlic. And we're right in that garlic season for Ontario, so
Absolutely.
some chopped onion. And then some red pepper flakes. Again, just to give it some heat. Now, if you don't like the red pepper flakes, or you don't want, if you're making it for the kids and you think, hey, maybe not, you don't have to put them in, right? Recipes are like roadmaps. It's not going to affect it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, roadmaps, as I was trying to get here yesterday.
As we got turned around and buried.
A little bit of salt and pepper. And again, in salt and pepper is as much as you like or as little as you like. And you're thinking, why do you want heat on top with your pepper? It just gives it a different layer of flavoring.
Yeah, it really adds to that depth and makes
Right.
it kind of really stand out, right? And there's an awesome opportunity to season this later. As you're going to see, we're going to roast them and then we're going to cook them inside the tomato sauce. So there's another opportunity for us to really build flavor there.
Now you can get the kids, grandkids to help you make your meatballs. If you would like to put gloves on, please, if you feel better that you're touching raw meat and you want to put gloves on, please do. I've been doing this for a long time. I like using my hands.
And then what are we looking for once it's well incorporated? Is there a consistency that we're aiming for?
Yeah, just you want it to be just still a little bit wet. You don't want it to be too dry. If it's too dry, you probably put too many breadcrumbs in. Years ago, my grandmother, I always asked her, why did you put oatmeal in your meatballs? And it was just to extend the meat because meat was so dear, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of cool substitutes for breadcrumbs. Like if you do want to keep it gluten-free, there's certainly, there's gluten-free breadcrumbs out there, but you can also do things like oats. You can do potato starch. Even cornstarch wouldn't be too strange. Also, crushed up potato chips is kind of a nice little
Isn't that
hack.
cool? Yeah.
Adds a whole other flavor content and can add a cool new consistency.
And even like our good friend Tim Berry from Berry's Asparagus, doing his asparagus chips and the flavored ones, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So we're almost there. I just got it nice and incorporated. Now there's some recipes I will say that they'll take this and they'll actually put it back in the refrigerator for about an hour. They like the fat actually kind of comes back together for the meat. We're not going to do that.
That's getting a little too technical.
Exactly.
For ChefD at the Cottage, right?
We want to be out on that lake on a sea-doo later. So then, again, meatballs are a personal thing. So if you like to make them as big as you want or as little as you want, and away we go. So we're going to take this, and I'm going to start making meatballs, but I just want to show you. Great for family. We're going to pop them in the oven, 350 degrees. We're using a convection oven, so about 12 to 15 minutes.
Yo, check this out.
Back again with Chef Darnell Greg, and Chef, you're making ricotta. So you have your milk.
Yeah, so we're using whole milk. It's just coming up to a simmer right now. As it comes to a simmer, we're going to add the juice of 1 lemon for every liter of milk.
Okay.
We're doing a 2-liter batch here. You get about a cup and a half of ricotta per liter of milk. So now that it's starting to get hot, we're just going to squeeze the lemon juice in. It really is that simple. And this is the basis of pretty much all cheeses, whether you're making mascarpone, whether you're making creme fraiche, or sour cream type thing. This is kind of how it all starts. And then if you want to get into making, your cheddars or your bries, you add rennet or a bacterial enzyme to it to kind of produce that. But all fresh cheeses start this way.
This is really cool. And don't be scared. You can make this. It's pretty much foolproof, isn't it?
It really is pretty much foolproof. And once you taste it, it's such, the creaminess is just on a different level. It has a really, really natural sweetness to it. Whether you want it, with your eggs for breakfast, or whether you want to, you can whip some of the ricotta and serve it with fresh Ontario strawberries, and there's dessert for yourself. It really is it's so multifaceted. There's so many different things you can do with it. And I love it again because when you're entertaining, you always want to do those things that are super easy for you, but kind of has a little bit of that wow factor.
Right.
And it really does take it up a notch.
And again, you can make this on a rainy day up at the cottage and put it in the refrigerator. Keeps about 3 to 5 days?
Yeah, I would say like 2 to 3 days is probably going to be that like prime, but it's certainly not going to go bad in even a week. We're just going to really, really gently mix in the lemon juice. And then once it's mixed in, we're going to bring it back up to a boil, and then we're going to let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes just to let some of the curds kind of settle up.
So, Chef, where are we at with your ricotta?
Yeah, so the ricotta's been sitting for about 10 to 15 minutes. Let it come up to temperature a little bit. And what you see is some of the fat and some of the proteins coagulate. So you have the super clear liquid that kind of sits on top. That's the whey that kind of separates away from the actual curd itself. And the curd itself is nice and kind of congealed. So what we want to do is we want to pick it up very, very gently, and we're just going to put it through a fine sieve. Now, coffee filters also work really, really well for this, as does cheesecloth, where cheesecloth gets its name from. Or fine strainers really do work. Maybe you lose a little bit through the strainer, but I don't think that it's going to be that dramatic. And then as soon as that's done, we're just going to pack it into the fridge and season it up. And then we're going to use that a little bit later for a couple different things.
Now, when you say season up, just a little bit of salt, or what are you thinking?
A little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of lemon to kind of freshen it up and add to the acidity. And then depending on what you want to do with it, even a little bit of honey or a little bit of maple syrup isn't out of place at all.
Because we know all about maple syrup and our friends at Deerhurst too.
We're not that far away.
Chef Rory, 1-800.
So we're just going to let some of the whey go out. We'll let it strain, let it sit in the strainer just for probably just 3 or 4 minutes. Let as much of the liquid come out as possible.
It smells amazing.
Doesn't it? And it's crazy that really is just the smell of lactose, and it really is just the smell of milk. It has so much natural sweetness, and there's so much kind of earthiness and grassiness to it.
And you don't want to use the ultra pasteurized, right? You want to use a little bit more natural.
Correct. If you have something like our good friends at EB Manor or a local dairy company, as a rule of thumb, if you look at the ingredients on your milk, the fewer the ingredients, the higher the yield. When you start getting into something that is, a little bit overly processed, you're actually going to have difficulties getting the curd to form because you won't be able to separate the milk the way that you usually can.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to go check on my meatballs. I'll be back in a second.
Let's do it.
I don't know if you know, but I love making tomato sauce. It's probably truly, it's just one of those things that's comfort for me.
Italian food does it for you.
Right, it truly does. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil into our pan. Our pan is warm. You want to have a warm pan. We're just going to turn it up just a little bit. Add a little bit of our onion. Now, I used all our garlic in the meatballs, so we're not going to put the garlic in the sauce, but you can add a little bit of fresh garlic to this. And what we're going to do is here, we're going to sweat off the onions so they again become translucent.
Yeah, just really kind of take that harsh edge out of it. You can smell the difference. As soon as you start smelling that sweetness, it's time to move on.
And just a little bit of salt and pepper. And then we're going to season it later as well.
And the meatballs too will add such a depth of flavor to the sauce itself. They really, they kind of play off of each other.
And you can just start seeing that it's now becoming almost translucent. So we're almost there to start adding in our tomatoes.
Now, do you have a preference for what kind of tomatoes you like to use for your tomato sauce?
I love using Italian tomatoes. We use Muti a lot, from Italy. They're just, I think out of all the tomatoes, and we've been doing this for a very long time, I truly love those. They're great. We make great local ingredients here. Don't ever get me wrong, but I think the Italians have it down for tinned tomatoes. The one and only day I don't wear my white chef coat.
You got to be extra careful.
And we're just going to bring this up just till it starts to boil. We're going to cook it off for about 20 minutes. You don't have to go much longer than that. And then we're going to place our great meatballs that we just finished here into a roasting pan, put the tomato sauce over it, and do it in an oven for about an hour. And you're going to have amazing meatballs. Won't you join us?
Yo, check this out.
We're here with Joe Hall, VP of Sales for Bee Hospitality in Windermere House. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, ChefD.
So, Windermere House, it is a grand old lady, right?
It definitely is, yeah. The hotel itself was built in 1870, as you may see on the sign right directly behind us. A lot of history with the property itself. One thing we enjoyed about the property taking it over was the amount of support the community had for the property. We took the property over back in April, and it was very quick. We had a lot of people reaching out to us saying, "This is our hotel. You have to do this. This is our hotel. You have to do this." So it's nice to feel the ownership that they feel about the property just as much as we do.
I know. I was talking to one of your staff members earlier, and she said that you've been having lots of visitors and old staff members that might have been a cook 40 years ago, and they've come back and see it. And I think there was somebody that celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary who were a cook and dishwasher at some point, which is really cool, and I love that history.
Yeah, we actually had a couple the other day that were up here.
Yeah.
He was turning 75 years of age, and they actually met up here.
Okay.
Way back in the day, 50, 55 years ago.
Yeah.
And I talked about just the history and then, what was similar and what was different. That's one great thing, with the fire that happened in 1996.
Yeah.
The community really rallied together and said, we need this to look almost like it did back in 1870. And they did a fabulous job.
That's fantastic.
Getting it close to that. A lot of the property is still existing, being the old stonework, the old pathway, the slate. So again, they've really done a good job pristine the history of the property.
And I love walking. I might have walked by the wine cellar there, and just seeing the rocks that are all like it's literally built on a rock.
It 100% is. Yes, it's built on the Canadian Shield, so it comes right out, and it's just again gives it some character to the pub, and it really does feel like you're in 1870 walking in there with the old stonework and the mortar that they've done.
And it's really cool, like coming in as a visitor, yesterday, and how the little nuances of how clean the rooms are to just the pub here, and having some great food. I know Chef Aaron and I are going to do some work a little bit later.
Yeah, so looking forward to that.
Anyways, Joe, thanks so much for having us on the property. It's been great.
No problem.
Much success.
Thank
I want to come back, okay?
I appreciate that.
So it's been an hour of real time. We've had our meatballs in our oven for 350 degrees for 1 hour. Put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top of it just to give it some more richness to it. And then made this really cool pasta. It is, the actual translation is pig's ears. My good friend Luigi shared that with me. Oriata. That's it, thank you. Easy for you to say. And so anyway, we're just gonna put a little bit of pasta on our plates, and we have some friends to come and try to make sure that, our meatballs are up to snuff. Are you guys good back over here?
We are excited.
So ladies first.
Thank you, sir.
And that's what's so great about doing the meatballs is that, let's say you have unexpected guests come in, and you can just pop these out of the freezer. Makes your life at the cottage so much easier, and that's what it should be. It should be all about fun and fun times at the table. So the ricotta is firmed up. We've seasoned it with a little bit of salt, just a touch of lemon juice, and now we're ready to make our salads.
Absolutely. So one of the cool parts about being up here is the fact that there's so much great produce available. Chef Aaron was more than gracious to introduce us to some of the farmers that he works with, and that works so well with what you and I do. Obviously different regions, but it's always cool when you get to see more people who are passionate about this. So we have a cool collection of greens that we're going to be using, and just preparing a really, really, really simple salad. So the ricotta itself is kind of the star of the show. Like you said, it's firmed up quite a bit. So I think we're just going to kind of make little dollops on the plate.
Okay.
It's a little bit salty. It's a little bit sweet. It's got a lot of that grassy flavor that's going to go really, really well with everything.
I just love it. And again, 2 ingredients, lemon juice and milk, and it doesn't get much easier than that.
Absolutely, and it turns into something just a little bit different and a little bit nicer. We have these beautiful greens that actually get cut a couple times a week, but when they get delivered here, they get cut within 48 hours, so that they're always, always, always using fresh produce, which is always something that's super, super, super cool. So we have little Mizuna, we have little bib lettuce, we have a little bit of rocket. And then the real star of the show are these microgreens.
I know, I was noticing them in the kitchen.
Yeah, so these pea shoots are so young and they're so tender, and we'll throw a few of them on. They taste so sweet, and a lot of times some of the pea shoots can be a little bit overgrown and can kind of have some green bitterness to them. But these come together really, really fresh.
Wow.
Some sunflower seeds, which are actually, or sunflower shoots, which are actually really cool because some of them actually have little sunflower seeds attached to the end. You get some really cool crunch out of that.
And you're going to be adding some really cool things, some nasturtiums or edible flowers, right?
Yeah, so we have some edible flowers and some nasturtium petals, actually. So the flower and the leaf are both edible. They both taste super peppery, almost spicy. And actually, the nasturtium flower was actually just picked from the garden here at Windermere House this morning. Chef Austin was just showing me. He was super proud of the fact that they had some green beans available today, and they had some fresh nasturtium flowers.
Just look how beautiful that looks.
Absolutely, and it's letting the produce speak for itself, right? Some marigold. Marigold has a super citrusy flavor.
I love them. I love them.
And it's so good at repelling mosquitoes in your backyard.
and even rabbits.
Okay. And then just a few orchid petals. And then to dress it, when you have all these delicious ingredients, you don't really need to go too heavy on the dressing. So what we've done is we've brought up some really great Italian olive oil. We'll just drizzle over and around here. And then some really nice aged balsamic vinegar that they have. Again, it's adding a little bit of richness, adding a little bit of that acidity, and really completing the salad. And when it kind of beads off the oil and you get those nice drops.
It doesn't get much
cool
better than that.
stuff.
Like, that's just a picture perfect salad.
Yeah, and it's Italian food in a bowl. That's it. It's simple. It's really, really big flavors, and it's letting cool products speak for itself.
So not only can we do salad, and I'll get the greens out of your way, but we're going to do a quick dessert with ricotta because it's that versatile.
Yeah. The ricotta cheese, again, has that really kind of nice sweetness. And for this time of year, I think a lot of times you don't want those desserts to be overwhelmingly sweet. So we do have these beautiful Ontario peaches. I've just kind of cut them into wedges right now. And then we're actually just going to throw a really quick marinade on them. So I'll sprinkle them with just a tiny bit of salt because it really opens up the natural sweetness of some
And
of the
also brings a little bit of the
flavors.
juice out, right?
Absolutely, and lets them kind of break down a little bit. And then we have our good friends at EB Manor provide us with this wonderful creamed honey. And we'll just use a little bit of that again to tie in a little bit of sweetness. And we'll give that just a really, really, really good stir. And actually, I'll probably hit with this splash of olive oil too.
Oh, this is going to taste amazing.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll let those marinate a little bit. We'll let those kind of develop a little bit of the flavors. And they have this really, really strong perfume aroma to them. And again, like a 3-ingredient dessert, right? And then we have the actual ricotta cheese itself again. You can whip this in a stand mixer. It makes it a little bit light, a little bit more fluffy, and maybe a little bit more like that traditional kind of like cheesecake type consistency. But for our purposes, we're just going to do this. These peaches would also be great if you were to lightly grill them.
Yes, 100%.
And throw them on top. And then we'll just lay out some of these honeyed peaches.
Oh, that looks amazing, Chef.
Yeah, and that's a nice summertime Italian dessert. Ricotta cheese 2 ways. We got a beautiful salad. We got a cool little peach dessert. We made some spaghetti and made some meatballs and a little tomato sauce. Italian themed day.
It doesn't get much better than that. Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Hey, it's all about having friends and family at the cottage and sitting around the table. I'm Chef D. Until next time, join me at the cottage, won't you?